This is Ready, Set, Reiki, a podcast about Reiki, the universal energy life force, from the curious beginner to the seasoned master teacher, welcoming all systems, all lineages, and all levels. Reiki is a journey and not a destination. And on this Ready, Set, Reiki journey, I refer to myself as a guide rather than host, because I too am traveling, supporting others, and learning on this Reiki journey as well. And with that said, I am your guide, Tracy C. Wright. And today, what a privilege it is to have Jill Thiel. Now, she is a Reiki master teacher and owner of the Minnesota Reiki Center for Healing and Training. Now, she has been certified in Reiki since 2004 and teaching since 2007. She specializes in helping individuals heal and promote overall wellness and self-care through Reiki and sound healing. Now, she is a licensed Reiki master teacher with the International Center of Reiki Training. Her certifications include Azui Reiki Rahiho, Azui Holy Fire 3, Holy Fire 3 Corona Reiki, and the ICRT Animal Reiki. Now, she also serves as the director of social media and the assistant director of the Licensed Reiki Master Teacher Training Program for the ICRT. Furthermore, she is a published author in the Reiki News magazine. She is dedicated to spiritual growth and compassion, spans her entire life, as she is a practitioner of Tibetan Buddhism. Additionally, she worked as a massage educator at the Aveda Institute, gaining experience in chakra, aromatherapy, reflexology, energy work, sound healing, meridians, massage, and art of Veda, and she owns the Minnesota Sound Healing with her husband, David. They teach healing classes, offer group sound healing sessions, and sell crystal tones singing bowls. Jill, welcome to Ready, Set, Reiki.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I know it is. I'm so excited that you're here on this journey. So let's begin together. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I live in Minnesota Reiki Center for Healing and Training. I've lived in Minnesota my whole life. I like to travel. I'm married and have a dog. No kids, so it's just us. And so we get to travel a good amount, my husband and I and my dog. So we've got a little Australian Shepherd toy little dog that she's easy to bring everywhere. So she travels with us. We like to go to beaches, and when we're relaxing, I tend to work a lot. So having your own business, you're kind of always working. So we try to get some good downtime, going to places like Utah and Sedona, but also just going away to a beach somewhere just to relax. Other than that, I'm a gardener and I'm into sustainability and spirituality, Buddhism, but I also just like to relax and take it easy and just, sometimes just do nothing.
Beautiful, beautiful. So we're on this journey today about something that's called Reiki. So tell me about Reiki. When did it come into your life? Did you find it or did it find you?
Well, I would say maybe a little of both. When I grew up, I didn't know anything about it growing up. So I didn't grow up in a family that did Reiki or was part of anything metaphysical. It was something, though, that I was always interested in as a kid. So I, was always drawn to like astrology and dreams and palmistry, various different things, telepathy. I mean, I would, find myself in the library at the time in that section of the books way in the back where it's all together and, you're looking at clairvoyance and, these various different things. And I was always just so fascinated by all of that stuff. But, we didn't have social media and everything you got was at the library. And so I didn't know about Reiki, but that kind of stuff always influenced me. And I tend to have friends who were also interested in that. I had a variety of friends growing up, but, I would have those friends and we would talk about that kind of stuff and crystals. And I originally worked as an artist and a designer and a singer. And so that's my background. And when I was in my 20s, I started noticing that I was having like anxiety, and I didn't really understand that I was an empath, that maybe I was taking on people's stuff. I knew things, I had all of these, I know things are happening, phenomenon, paranoia, all that, not paranoia, but paranormal stuff, was happening. And so I was really kind of, it was showing up all around me, but I didn't have any tools or know how to manage it. And you as a teacher know, like, people come into Reiki classes and it's kind of their first introduction to a lot of things. They've been reading about various different things. But it's not the same as some of the other modalities out there. So actually a friend had recommended that I try it. She said, you should try this. I didn't know what it was, but I thought I'll try it. So I really liked it. I had a Reiki session, and then I had got a few more Reiki sessions. Over time, then I realized you could learn Reiki. So I didn't know that at first. I guess I just kind of thought if you were a healer, you're special, you're born with these things. And then at one point in my life, I was in a crossroads, and that was, back then in 2004. And then I was guided to take a Reiki class. So originally, my first Reiki class wasn't thinking that I was going to be even doing Reiki professionally. It was like, I'm just going to take Reiki for me. And I like this and I can learn it. And it seems really cool. And I'm feeling better. I'm noticing these changes and stuff. So that is how I took my first Reiki class. And it was a Reiki 1 and 2 class. It was just through somebody local. There were maybe 1 or 2 people offering Reiki then. And so it was, and it was a good experience. And that led to many changes over the next couple of years around me. And I started to notice the benefits of Reiki from that. So that's how I got into it. So I think I feel kind of like it found me, but I also feel like I found it. And thinking back, it's just amazing how far and what has happened from finding Reiki or finding me.
Right. And just to think as you stand here on this journey, looking back at 2004, that you were going to eventually have the Minnesota Reiki Center in Healing and Training. How amazing is that, where this took you?
It's, better than I could have expected. I never saw myself. I pretty much saw myself probably doing art for the rest of my life. And I love art. And it's interesting because I don't do art anymore. I do like take photos and I like nice things. And, I design social media. I'm still designing. I'm still, just in a different way, but I'm not like selling art anymore.
Sure.
And I kind of at that time, it was like, since I was a kid, I'm an artist. And then, boy, did my beliefs and identity change when I realized, wait a minute, I think I want to help people.
Yeah.
And
Beautiful.
so it's one thing I always tell people is that when you find Reiki, your life, will turn out better than you could have even expected. Because a lot of our life, we limit our abilities and what we can do based on all of our cultural programming and conditioning growing up, and build our lives around other people's expectations. And even though I love doing that I could do it, obviously it was what I was doing, but in my heart, it really wasn't like what I was meant to be doing.
Sure.
And so it's kind of hard when you feel stuck. A lot of people coming into Reiki feel stuck, and Reiki kind of, helps you to, in a lot of ways to, well, especially with the holy fire, that, even revealing the authentic self. And I was clearing and healing, before holy fire, but obviously the benefits, as you know, and I do, of holy fire and higher levels of consciousness, and it's a beautiful energy and so healing and powerful. But Reiki in general is just like the journey of Reiki is just amazing in so many ways.
Yeah. I began my journey, as you did, studying the Uzui Reiki Rahiho, which is wonderful. But then, that holy fire took you in a whole other direction, that
Really
culturally created self, so.
And before I was working, as a massage therapist, and as well, and I think we're going to talk about that, but I mean, I even branded under a different name. And so like my first Reiki business to the Minnesota Reiki Center and Healing and Training came with that holy fire energy. There was some empowerment that came in that was like, hey, it might be time to, have a different brand now. And so the growth with Reiki, it continues.
Yeah, right,
On
right.
your
And then
journey,
and as you study Corona, and then the same thing.
Yeah.
So we seem to have similar paths that we did. I did the Corona, then I did the animal, and the animal was just abundance. I kept getting animals. They kept arriving.
Oh, nice. I love that. Yeah, right.
So it kept showing up.
Yeah, I love that.
So you have been certified since 2004, teaching since 2007. You have your Minnesota Reiki Center for Healing and Training, and you went through the ICRT program, and now you are assisting, an assistant director of the Licensed Reiki Master Teacher Training Program. So with all of these things that you have experienced over the years, what is a common misconception that you find about Reiki?
Well, that it's religious, or that that there's a lot of projection of, that there's religious things going on with it. Also, maybe that you need to be special or have gifts or abilities, are a couple that come in and most people, once they get to the point where they're ready to sign up, they've been guided enough to know, but they still might have that belief or that insecurity that they need to heal around that. There are other ones, but I feel like religious trauma and self-doubt come up the most in the early Reiki classes for people. And so those I think for me are my top two. I'm sure other people have different ones, but I feel like I'm helping people through some of those things a lot. And maybe it's just kind of because, maybe I can help people in those, so that kind of helps me with that. Or, either way, it's I like to help people through that. So that's great. And so that's a couple of main things. And I know, the holy fire energy does heal religious trauma. And so we know that, but a lot of times in those earlier Reiki 1 and 2 classes, just a lot of the doubt around there, am I any good at this? Am I getting validation around this? Some of those things.
Oh yeah. And then they panic because, they've heard somewhere along the lines that if you don't feel it in your palms, it's not working. And they'll get nervous, and they're like, it's not working. And it's like, well, if you're an empath, you're going to feel it everywhere. So
yeah, exactly.
Be open to it.
It's just the little things that come up, on the journey. And then you see it, and then you see them shift in like 6 months to a year. And then it's like, now here, let me help. I can help you now, and it's fun. It's fun to see those changes come up.
The lineage of Reiki Rahiho that I went through, you would finish your training, and then you would wait 21 days. And we would do the Reiki principles on ourselves, self-Reiki for 21 days. After 21 days, we would go back to our teacher to get our certificate. And she could see the difference from like that first time I stepped in, we all stepped in that day, to those 21 days is the shift. So that was quite an interesting journey there, whereas Holy Fire, you do the training one day and then the training the next, but it's interesting to have those 21 days to see the progress after. And what a difference it could make. So you worked in massage educator, chakras, aromatherapy, reflexology, healing meridians, and sound healing, all of these things. And also taking time with yourself to have spiritual growth and compassion that spans over your whole adult life, helping those with their challenges or struggles. But what's something that you faced in your own healing journey?
Lots of different things have come up. One of the main things that I had was some health issues come up. I had developed some autoimmune conditions. A lot of folks have gone through these, the heavy metals and
Mm,
parasites and chemicals and mold and developing into various different viruses and autoimmune conditions that you can get diagnosed for, but you don't get diagnosed for. And you go through this whole little loop of not trusting the medical system, but then learning how to trust the medical system again. And but at one point I thought I was going to die. I got so sick.
mm,
And that was a big um, shift in my mindset where I had to, like, I really, really learned about setting boundaries then too.
yeah.
I was doing a lot of different things. I was running my own Reiki business. I was running a gardening business. I was growing food for chefs and, CSAs and, setting up other people's gardens, doing my garden, teaching at the Aveda Institute. And as I was trying to get my business going, I had all of these other gigs that were, which were all great. But in my heart, it was like, what do you really want to be doing? This is great.
Mhm.
You're good. Again, you're good at all, you're good at these
Yeah.
things, but what do you really want to do?
Mhm.
And I was sick. And it's like, well, I kind of remember thinking like, if, really like in part of Buddhism, you contemplate things like impermanence, and it helps you cultivate more gratitude by
Mhm.
recognizing the limited time. And so there's things there that we do. And so this heaviness of that kind of came up. Like, if I wasn't here, like if I died tomorrow, what do I want to be doing today?
Yeah.
And because I was so sick and just like, my days were spent going to treatment after treatment for treatment. And that went on for like 5 years.
Mhm.
And it was, and I had Reiki guiding me through it. And, but it was still like, it didn't necessarily like cure me from it. Right.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so I wasn't expecting that to happen. But it was amazing how it provided resources. I mean, I could think about something like, oh, it'd be really great to find this type of person, and that person might show up as my client
Mhm.
like that
Yeah.
week. And you're like, okay, or they know somebody, or you go somewhere and you have a feeling about this doesn't seem right, so you don't waste your time going down various opportunities, or you find these sort of interesting things that maybe you never thought that would work, or you have empowerment and guidance of other things that you can do. And so this whole thing around in working in my health and detoxing for years and years and all of these things, trying to get better. It was also when I developed the Minnesota Reiki Center. So it was
Yeah.
sort of like, I've got this huge health challenge going on now. And if I make it through this, like, this is what I'm going to do. So I did. I sort of cleared all of these other things off and got
Yeah.
serious about it. But I had to like really dial back because my energy was really low. And I couldn't move for times and things.
Yeah.
It was not fun time. But I got through it. And I still deal with some, because autoimmune conditions and things like that, but I've
Mhm.
obviously made it through the worst of it, and now have other people that again find me and so forth, that because a lot of people go through that. And through that too, there's also a lot of trauma that I realized that had come out. So it's kind of like there was a health thing, but it was directly related to emotional stuff. So kind of in going back to something really big that Reiki
Yeah.
helped me with, clearing a lot of that, but then helping me really to kind of step into, um, like where I really wanted to be with Reiki.
Mhm.
And I also noticed my Reiki got a lot stronger after.
Yeah.
So as I was clearing that, like just moving some of this stuff through, my connection and my trust and all of these things. So it's kind of like everything came up to purify and heal. And it was really intense
Yeah.
for many years, but then got through it. and here I am. And so I still, I'm trying to take really good care of myself, and still growing and healing, but
Mhm.
I feel like the energy has helped me. I've had major clearings just in general, on the physical, on the emotional, and on the
Mhm.
spiritual levels.
Yeah.
And I would say the physical level was probably the hardest,
Yeah.
clearing the physical body, and doing that because it was painful. It was,
Yeah. Yeah.
it was painful, like the stuff that, kind of had gotten binded, I would say, in there and kind of
Mhm.
all stuck. But once that stuff kind of got moved out and started flowing, it rippled into everything else around me.
Right.
So it affected everything, and my business and everything all also grew along with, as I was healing and clearing. I was able to reach more people. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, so that's probably one of the major ones, because health is very important, and a lot of people find
Oh
Reiki,
yeah.
because of
Yeah.
health related
Right. And
reasons.
sometimes when you're in this, many think because I had like a little glitch with blood pressure and someone had mentioned to me, but you do so much Reiki, that shouldn't happen. Well, it's like we're human.
Yeah.
Things happen, but we have things in our energetic toolbox to help
Mhm.
us through this. So
Absolutely. And yeah, and I tell people, like, it's not going to prevent life from happening, but it can
yeah.
help you manage the stress. And we still have, like, we have karma because we have bodies. And so
Yeah.
we will get sick, we will get old, and we will die. And that is the life cycle. But we will not be as happy and as healthy by, if we don't have Reiki. That process could, it could always be so much worse.
All right.
And
Well,
so
yeah.
Reiki can always make it
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
But we do have to navigate through, and it's not easy living
Yeah, yeah.
in the
I mean,
world.
I even mentioned that to my doctor about what my friend said, and he said, yeah, and he said exactly what you said. It could have been a lot worse if you
Mhm.
didn't do the Reiki and the yoga and all the other things that
Yeah.
imagine that wasn't a part of your life. How would it
Mhm.
have been for you? So, yeah.
Yeah, I think sometimes people feel like if you're in work like this, like they will project that, like, oh, you got sick or something happened. And
Hmm.
it's just
Hmm.
like, people get sick, and,
Yeah.
we're not immune to, and those sorts of things, on a lot of sense, are kind of karmic things that come up. It's part of our life. And so we're not going to, be able to run away from that. But yeah, definitely managing it and making it easier, is one of the main benefits, because we can't always cure everything.
Hmm.
And, yet you can still, be healed, or have had healing happen. But it may not cure, something, because our human lives are gonna run their course.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
So, when it is time for you to get an energetic tune-up, what are some qualities that you look for in a Reiki practitioner?
Well, transparency. I like that I can see the information, that it's not hard to see, what, you know, about them, where they've received training from. I don't care, I guess, like how long people have been doing Reiki.
Right.
It's more about the feeling of their energy, and just like presenting themselves in a honest way, so I can really understand what, so I guess, like, in reading or seeing what they're doing, like, I want to be able to get a good impression. I don't want it I don't,
Yeah.
years ago, I mean, I used to maybe go for people that had like really long lists of different things that they would do,
Yeah.
but then you would like show up and they're like, oh, well, I just like, read about that. And you're like, okay, what? So
Oh
I
no.
guess, like, I realize that sometimes having more isn't always better.
Yeah.
And so that's where it's like, I don't really care how long you've been doing it, but I just like it. I want it to feel like this is that you know what you're doing, and you're.
Right, right, right. When I started my journey, it was like, okay, because I came from an educational background, I have to have that certificate to mean something. And then it was almost, I felt called and pulled to different systems, going to these different systems. And then before you know it, it's quite a long list of like, oh my goodness, it was overwhelming what it was. And I, in the beginning, used to list everything. And I think it was Colleen, I got her certificate. And I'm like, wait, she just has Reiki Master Teacher on here. She doesn't have all the many, many things that she, is qualified to do. And then something shifted in me and I said, okay, I'm just going to put Reiki Master Teacher. And that shifted and changed it as well, because the people that come to me, it's always like, I felt called to you. I had a dream about you, or I felt your energy. And it didn't matter what the, list of credentials that I had. They felt the energy. It's like, wow, this is powerful. I can feel it from you. So I stopped listing like all those things.
Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, so I get that. And it's more powerful, like the energy, people will
Yeah.
get a feeling like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like just having that transparency and just,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I have knowledge in a lot of other things too, but
Of
I'm just like,
course.
they play a little part, but I don't really like consider
Yeah.
myself an expert in those
Oh,
things.
yeah. And there's no expert, because someone had said, but
Yeah.
you're the master. And I'm like, but am I?
Right.
I mean, there's no there.
Well,
It's keeping going.
technically.
And I said, I learn as you do as well. You learn from every student. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So those are, I mean, that's kind of, I would say, I guess maybe kind of just like a feeling of, very same like with you. Like you just kind of know when it's
Hmm.
somebody that's good for you. There's an energy, and that is kind of one of the important things about having a business, that it is more than like a website and a
Yeah.
bunch of credentials. Like there is an energy. And in Reiki, there's the business part, which is like your marketing and all of that. And then there's the inner work,
Hmm.
and the inner work needs to match the marketing.
Sure.
You can have
Sure.
really good marketing, but if the inner
Yeah.
work isn't there,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's different than, selling like a product. It's
Yeah.
a very personal product. That's
Yeah. And then with, COVID coming, one of the silver linings of COVID is there was so much more accessible online, right? That you
yeah,
had a little bit of that time to, ooh, I always wanted to do that. I've been waiting to do that. And so you could pick and choose. So I think many of us in this field, we do have a few more. It's not just one thing. We have many others, which is all a part
yeah.
of who we are. So
Yeah, and I think definitely having doing other things is
Mhm.
part of the path, and that's great, and it's
Yeah.
helpful, and it's definitely helpful in having a business because it
Yeah.
might be difficult in doing
Oh,
just
yeah.
one thing. But then it's kind of honing in on what would go really well with you in doing that, so the combination works really well together, and it's the most beneficial because there's just so many different directions that Reiki
Sure.
practitioners go with their
Yeah.
practices, like
Yeah.
medical, kind of more woo woo, and then
Yeah.
there's kind of more bodywork style, and
Hmm.
and they're all effective, but they all work like differently. They just
Oh,
have
yeah.
the Reiki energy, but my coming with a bodywork background is a lot
Mhm.
different than like a medium background or something like that.
Sure, sure.
The
Yeah.
session's going to be a little different, and depending on what you need, I just want to be able to connect with that person
Yeah.
before and feel that energy to
Yeah.
know this is what's going to help me.
Very good.
Yeah.
So you have your own training center. You are the assistant director of the licensed Reiki Master Teaching Program. So you are around a lot of people who are leveling up. And what advice do you give someone who's just beginning to enter this beautiful modality known as Reiki?
Well, that I think that practice is really important, and also working on yourself is
Mm.
really important. But follow your inner guidance with Reiki. I think that a lot of us in where we are and we're living in the Western world, we have more analytical, logical thinking with Reiki. So we tend to, some people want to come in and like, how do I do Reiki? How do I do it? And, and I'm always like, well, it's more like being than doing, you're not really doing it, but yes, you're there. And so, to just kind of start to work on using the Reiki ideals and the Gassho meditation and the practice to start calming the mind and to start shifting away from the logical, analytical thinking and start to listen deep within.
Yeah.
Part of my journey when I kind of realized that I want to do Reiki full time, I found myself at a crossroads and then going to Mexico and basically like living on a beach for winter. And we had cell phones, but we didn't have iPhones yet at this time. But there was still a lot of people were using cell phones and computers and, there was social media and things. So, I mean, it was getting, like people were getting sucked into that world. But like when I just went and had that time to calm my mind and to kind of shut things off and how I could now listen, oh, this is what it sounds like my intuition sounds like. And so I really started to feel the calling in my next steps and what I needed to do. And it takes a little time. So I would kind of suggest to people, don't try to rush it. Just like take this time to focus on you. Use these tools that you have to sort of start to heal things. And not everybody might not be able to go to a beach in Mexico. I mean, that's just kind of where my life took me. But the important thing to take away was that I had to get away from all of this outer influence that was keeping me in my head. That was like making me sort of think maybe I can't do Reiki. And then when I realized like now I'm not thinking about these things anymore, like I really can do Reiki. So being patient and giving yourself time, but also I encourage people to move on in Reiki, taking Reiki 1, taking the master class, taking the Karuna class, taking animal Reiki, retaking classes as another perspective, because you always keep healing if you keep taking the classes, working with the energy. So you can keep healing because you don't realize that if you keep working with Reiki, how you do keep healing and how like part of the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing is because I kept going on my Reiki path. In the beginning, I didn't know that I could do it at all. As I mentioned, it was like, I didn't even think that, I thought you had to be special to heal. So, I mean, if I would have stopped at Reiki 1 and 2, though I had healing happen, I wouldn't probably have my own business because more healing happened as I went on. And as I walked into it, I wasn't planning on teaching. And I meet so many people that are like, I'm not going to teach. And then they go, guess what? I'm being guided to teach, know, and it's like, this, right? I mean, it's fun to like have Reiki stories because you realize like, oh yeah, other people have these stories too. And and you realize there's the, the Reiki journey and it's all a little different for each person, but there are some common things that come up with people. And so I encourage people to just keep going on because you never know where it is going to lead you. And you don't have to teach or have a practice or a business to be successful. And just the spiritual, the physical, and all of the emotional benefits that Reiki and the stress relieving benefits is amazing. So, I'm not trying to get people to be practitioners unless they want to be a practitioner, but just have access to the energy and the healing, and then to focus on them and allowing the energy to clear and to encourage them if they're feeling guided to do other things and work with other people to go on that journey and to continue healing. And then when they, kind of get out on the other side, they're going to look back and see that their life has completely changed and it's even better. And even if they have a good life, it's still better having Reiki in it because there are other barriers and things that shift away as we change our inner energy and then how it affects the outer energy around us. So Yeah, I really want to empower people with the energy and to, really want them to go as far as they can so they can heal the things. And it's also, I feel like it's really amazing for people to be in this life and to recognize and to find that and then have energy to do the healing work,
Mm-hmm.
because as we know, it's really hard to do it, and it can be very hard to like face that, when it's so much easier to just be distracted and get
Mm-hmm.
sucked into the fear, and the negativity and the fear, and the competition and everything around you.
Yeah.
And it's a lot harder to like, whoa, making boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
like, becoming empowered. And so some of that, as it rises up from us, it's like, whoa, Reiki can be very surprising because we don't often know, oh, I didn't know that was there.
Right.
But then we go, oh my gosh. And I mean, I see people like, I mean, physically change, like too,
Mm-hmm.
like they literally like become completely different people.
Right. Right.
And so that is like one of the really beautiful parts, and I've seen it in my own work. And so it's like I can share this, but then they experience it,
Right.
and I love that. And so I really just tell people just keep going on your healing journey is really,
Mhm.
I feel like once it comes in, and you have this option, and it's like, keep going on it, however fast or slow you want to take it. But keep working with it, because this is how you'll really, you'll improve your life if you do that.
Very good. So, what books do you recommend?
What books? Well, I read a lot of, well, you know what? I actually read a lot of more types of books, not on like that kind of stuff. I do a lot of like more Buddhist training type things. And
Hmm.
so some of the books and things that I would be reading are not necessarily books that are accessible. I guess I don't really pick up kind of the normal books like, hey,
Hmm.
get these books, get these books. I also, that are like on the bestsellers. I'm reading more books that would be very confusing.
That's okay. It's
But
part of the Minnesota Reiki Center for Healing and Training
yes.
Library.
Yes. So on that sense, like, I mean, in recommending some of those are, difficult to say, but I am also like reading a lot of different things in sound healing. And I tend to, I have dyslexia, so my reading books is different. It's like, I need these
Mhm.
tools and techniques. Okay, I
Yeah.
need these spiritual tools.
Hmm.
So it's always one of those sort of interesting things where I'm like, my brain kind of works in a different way. So I
Sure.
read books, but I read books differently, for different things.
Yeah.
I absorb a lot of my information like through talking and training
Hmm.
and listening, and then I will use books and manuals and various
Yeah.
things that maybe people would be like, I love doing that. But as far as like reading this, there are so many amazing books out there, and people always
Yes.
have really amazing recommendations about that. Like, I don't typically go into those books, and I think that they're wonderful, but it's just not really what I'm drawn to. But some of the training through like the Buddhism and reading some of the books through like Tibetan authors and things like that, those are very powerful for me, but they would be like, okay, that I don't think I can read that book.
Yeah.
That one might
Yeah.
be a little bit over my head
Oh,
because
yeah.
it's translated, and well, and you're getting it through like, Padma Publishing, and
Hmm.
these kind of obscure texts and various things tend to, be where I go.
Right.
So, yeah, so, but a really nice sound healing book that I was reading was by Ashana, and she put out a really good book this last year. Geraldine Glass put out a really nice book, as well. I'm kind of like, kind of getting into, some of those in some of the crystal alchemy and the alchemy bowls and things, which are sort of a newer technology. You're seeing a lot more of that showing up. So those sorts of books have been drawing my attention. John Boulay, tuning forks. So my brain is kind of down the technical side.
Sure.
Now.
Yeah. Wonderful. Wonderful. So what other services do you offer? Do you offer classes, events, trainings, and where can we find you?
Well, I teach Reiki, of course, and I teach a lot of Reiki classes. And I also teach sound healing. And so those are the main courses. Actually, we just launched Minnesota Sound Healing like a couple of weeks ago. I've been doing that for a while. I have a background in music. I'm a classically trained singer and piano player and flute, and my husband's part of that business, and he also plays instruments. And so when I was in massage, at some point, I kind of got burnt out because I'd been doing it for like 15 years, and you get kind of worn out doing that. So I was called back into sound healing back in like 2018. And then I eventually kind of moved out of massage and then into the sound healing. And then now that's a full thing. And I incorporate that like into my sessions and my classes and my Reiki classes. And that I've had enough people over the years be like, are you going to teach us this? And so for like the last 5 years, I've been listening around Reiki and working to write a course and how will this work? And it's kind of like gone back and forth. Is it a Reiki sound healing course? Is it, what is it? What is it? Actually, not long ago then I was teaching a Reiki class and I had a download of information on kind of how it would all happen. And then I was like, oh, okay. So part of it was that I would sell bowls. So you can see behind me, I've got some bowls here that I didn't really think that I was going to sell. I never really have sold products before, or, that just hasn't been on my journey, but it kind of came to me like, well, if you're going to teach classes, people are going to ask you where they can buy them. And of course, there's a lot of resources out there, but it is helpful to maybe, have what you're teaching.
Right.
So it kind of, it's something that I had thought of, but then it just kind of became known that it would happen. And so, everything just like moved forward from there. And then that business within a couple of months, everything just kind of all came together. So we did write a manual, speaking of things, another book that I'm working on writing a book. Don't have time to read any right now. But writing this manual and putting that all together. And so, I have that written, and then my husband's really good at editing and stuff. So we're cleaning that up. And so we will be releasing a book, sound healing level 1 course. And so that's exciting because that is, I just launched that and all 3 classes like sold out in a couple of days. So it was like, okay, I think that, people are feeling it and wanting it, and people have been asking. So that's really what I do. I really focus on just like the Reiki classes, and then now the sound healing. My Reiki classes have been pretty busy. I mean, I typically teach 2 to 3 Reiki classes a month. And then I have the sessions, and then with the ICRT, various things with them, and then just all the logistics and running the business. So now adding another business on means I have to cut out some of the Reiki classes in order to accommodate some of the sound healing courses that are coming in that new part of the business. But that is a lot of fun because it has been something that I've been kind of manifesting for about 5 years now. And it's exciting to bring that in and to bring something that I really enjoy doing, which is working with sound and Reiki and frequency and intention. and the amplification of sound. So that keeps me very busy, just kind of just doing those things. Over the years, I have, worked in a lot of other avenues, and other types of things. And then now it's very focused on this. And then I'm hoping to bring more sound healing classes, a level 2, and even some courses around like working with the voice, tuning forks, and some other specialized courses to go a little deeper in the sound healing. But we just got this launch, so we're going to get the level 1 out there and then work on the level 2. And so kind of going back to the books again, a lot of researching,
Right.
writing, I mean, it's all very cool stuff though, because it's like really, too, like in looking into sound and
Yeah.
it's, like there's like science behind a lot of that. So a lot of that kind of information and the stories, and it's just, it's a beautiful thing, and how it all works. And then with the healing, and how more of it is coming into the world and the mainstream. And I think I read somewhere we're entering into the age of frequency or something like that, right?
Yeah. So where can we find you to book? Or your website?
Oh yeah, website is well, you can go through Minnesota Reiki Center.com. MN is in Minnesota, Reiki Center.com. Also, Minnesota Reiki should get you there. I have a couple URLs that point, but Minnesota Reiki Center should find me. That's where you can book sessions and classes. Also, Minnesota Sound Healing. That is a separate website. And that is where the sound healing classes, that's where we sell bowls, and then also do more group sessions for people, where we kind of, both my husband and I, we like take you on like a little experience with multiple instruments. Since we're both musicians, we kind of take the sound healing and turn it into like a destination, like a little, it's like music, there are other, it's not that sound healing isn't music, there's just different approaches on kind of how people may approach it. So our style is like more kind of like music, that we've put together, working with different frequencies and instruments. So we do that, and that's through Minnesota Sound Healing is
Beautiful.
that website. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm in Minneapolis.
And since you are an ICRT teacher, you can find your classes as well on Reiki.org.
Yeah, Reiki.org has my classes as well. Yes.
Wonderful. All right, that ends the first part of our journey. So I'm going to continue to guide you through the next part, which is questions from social media and Reiki students. So here we go. Number 1. I am just starting my Reiki business while keeping my full-time job. How long did it take you to transition to a full-time Reiki practitioner?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of us would love, for me, it took me longer, and that's okay. Everybody's different. And that's the cool thing about the Reiki is, I see students, taking Reiki 1 and 2 and going out and starting businesses and being very successful. That was not me. Okay. It took me a long time. And I remember when, I was in Mexico, and I had kind of, like I had said, all of a sudden things could quiet. And then I had this time where I could sort of hear, I heard a voice tell me to get into massage therapy. Where I would get hands-on practice, and that would give me experience. And in 10 years from now, you'll have a full-time Reiki business. And at that time, I didn't really think, wow, that's a long time. I just thought, oh, that seems right. I came back from that trip. I signed up for massage therapy. It was about 10 years before I was full-time. Now, granted, remember, I started back in 2004. So there's a lot more awareness with social media. A lot more people know about this now. So typically, I don't think it takes people that long, but I do think it took me a little longer. And I think that that's okay, because at the end, it's better than what I could have imagined. And it took exactly as long as it needed to happen for me. But maybe it can encourage people that they feel like that it's not going fast enough for them.
Yeah.
If you're in a position where you're like, whoa, why isn't it happening for me
Mm-hmm.
now? That it happens in exactly the way that it's supposed to happen for you. So it can happen, and some people maybe after 10 years would have stopped. But I just kept noticing that, really what drew me there was that I just really wanted to do it. And
Right.
so, like, my intention wasn't like, oh, I can make money doing this. My intention was like, I like helping people. So if I
Mm-hmm.
could have a part-time job while doing it and I could do it, that's why I did it. But I knew I had to build my business. And as I noticed that people were coming back to me, having return clientele, that's a good indicator. You're helping people, they're coming back to you. But some of those things you might have to kind of, get better at, like listening skills or practitioner skills or, marketing that, it's all like this bigger piece, self-healing. So it did. Took me a little longer, but the journey along the way, I got so much experience and so many different things. It's helpful being a teacher now because I really have a variety of different settings that I've worked in.
Beautiful. Number 2, can you tell me about the ICRT program and how the program helped you in your Reiki journey?
Yeah, well, um, it helped me in a lot of ways, and did not expect it to help me as much as it did. Not that I didn't think that it would, but like when you get into it, you're like, whoa, this is this is intense, and intense in a really good way.
Yeah.
Um, because in going into that, like I had already taken all of my Reiki classes, then I had to retake my Reiki classes because I wasn't a professional member. Then you're like taking all of your classes again. So like, every time you take Reiki classes, there's healing that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you've already taken Reiki 1 and 2 and you're taking it for the 5th time, like stuff is going to come up, like
Yeah.
you're in it, so, now you're going through these and you're going through them again and again. And it's just like, all this stuff is like coming up. But the program is an advanced teacher training program, and you get like 1,000 hours
Yeah.
of work. So you're already on your journey and meeting these certain credentials, which means you've healed some of these fears and these doubts along the way. Some of these early things, you're doing good, because you have a business and you're feeling guided to move on to that next level. So then by doing this, some of these things, you heal in other ways. Like one of the things for me was you had to write an article. And so there's all these little components of the licensed teacher training program. You have to teach these classes, you have to do these sessions, you have to write an article, you have to, all these things, and everyone kind of coming in, there's probably going to be one thing where they're like, ooh. So
Yeah.
for me, I have dyslexia. So it's like, like the article was like, oh, I can't write articles. Like, this is hard. Like, I'm dyslexic, I mean, this is scary for me. Um, so like, the teaching the classes and having the clients, like I already had been doing it. And at that point, like
Yeah.
that wasn't where my struggle was. Like my struggle was having huge blocks, emotional blocks around writing.
Yeah.
And so when it went in and I finally I think it took me, like that whole time, like I started working on that article, like it probably took me almost a year to write that first article. So I wrote this first article and it was about Reiki and gardening. And because it's something that I've used with Reiki and I mentioned that I'm a gardener. And so I wrote this article. And it comes back and it was like, whoa, this is amazing. And we're going to make it the cover of the Reiki News
Aw.
magazine. And you're a fantastic writer. And I remember like this healing happening around that, like going, oh my God, that was so scary for me. And now I healed this big, huge part.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I am a good writer, right? And a lot of times if you are dyslexic, you're Well, and when I grew up too, you weren't identified like as,
Yeah.
it was harder. Like I was good enough that you could slip under. I got good enough grades that you could
Mm,
slip under. But as you get older, you realize like, yeah, well, I mean, even the type of books that I like to read and stuff, and going back to that is I'm drawn to way different things because
sure.
of how my brain processes. Like I'm like, I want to read manuals and these scriptures and things like,
Yeah.
like that's what I can focus on, and different types of dyslexia and such. And so then now I've gone on and written several articles and, like that empowering my voice. And I think in doing that, it also helped me to get really back in touch because there was a time there where I kind of, even though maybe in the arts, mine was more like, painting and drawing and singing, like I wasn't like a writer.
Mhm.
But I mean, even over time, I really wasn't even empowering my voice and anything. And sort of by getting through that, it shifted me and helped me to even get more in connection with other artistic qualities that had sort of gone away that over time I just wasn't even really utilizing anymore. So I remember being that one was a big thing, but on other levels, just the confidence of building your business and improving your business, and you're connected to all these other teachers that also have resources and businesses, and so you have the community of all of the different teachers that you can reach out to that are all different, that all have different little specialties
Mhm.
and they're
Mhm.
in different areas and they work with Reiki in different ways. And some of us have similar things, of course, but like everybody's a little different. So you're in this community of people who all just love Reiki and want to help teach Reiki. And so it was a tremendous decision, or like a really tremendous opportunity, an amazing decision that I did it. And I'm so glad that I did it. Because it was something that I knew that I always wanted to do, but for a long time also probably had doubts in my Reiki ability that I was good enough, all of that. But by working with Reiki, it healed various different beliefs that I didn't even know that, were there.
Mhm.
And going back to when I first started Reiki, I wasn't expecting to be teaching and having a Reiki business. And then it's like, oh, now I'm going to go through this, advanced teacher training program, 3 to 4 year training program
Yeah.
for, and teach massive amounts of Reiki classes to, doing full time Reiki, teaching and working, full time, which I never saw myself doing that in the past.
Right.
So I do think the growth is tremendous. And it's a really amazing opportunity to go through it. If a person feels guided and wants to, you'll, boost your Reiki practice and experience and just healing. I mean, in so many different ways by going through that program. But each person is going to be a little different
Mhm.
in how, where they might, I guess, kind of see some shadow work where, oh, here's where you need to heal.
Right.
Here's where, because you go through it and you're already at this level of healing, and then you go in and you go, oh, whoa, I've got more to do. And that's the thing. You see more coming up, and then you level up in your life, because you go through this, and it's not easy. I mean, for
Mhm.
some people, it's really easy to go through it, but it's
Yeah.
also not easy to do because it requires, like working and doing a lot of Reiki.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 3, I noticed that as a Reiki master teacher, you offer CE credits. As a Reiki master teacher, are there any benefits in offering CE credits to students who are massage therapists?
Yes, there are. Um, people, well, students and things like that need CEs. And so for some of their other work, And it can also be for, licensed in marriage and family counselors and psychologists and nurses. And that kind of depends from state to state. Specifically, the massage one is through the NCTNB National Certification and Board. So massage therapists in most states are required to be nationally certified and be part of, an organization that where they have to take classes to keep up their national certification. So Reiki becomes a really nice addition to that because massage and Reiki go really well together. And the benefits for the massage therapists are fantastic because it can help the massage therapist to not burn out. One of the main reasons that massage therapists leave is because of burnout. And so the average massage therapist lasts about 5 years, whether through burnout or injury. And most of the time when they get in, they get really excited. So they're just doing massage after massage after massage. And they, and when we think about doing massage, you're really using your own energy in doing that. Plus it's physical. And, kind of like Reiki too. I mean, people, massage therapist, Reiki therapist, like people come in to kind of like, here, take away all of my stuff. So it is an opportunity for you to sort of absorb things mentally, emotionally, and physically. And if you are a sensitive person or an empath, you may or may not know that you're taking it on. So there are a lot of different benefits for massage therapists specifically in getting that. It can like meet those requirements for them, but also self-care. And it can provide them with other opportunities like myself. When I worked as a massage therapist, I was also a Reiki practitioner. So it helped me to build my business by offering Reiki sessions because Reiki sessions went really well with massage. So people could book massage, people could book Reiki, people could book a massage Reiki session, like a combined session. Then, I would offer things like foot reflexology and other types of modalities that were complementary within that kept me busy. So it was one of the things that helped me to stay busy in doing that. So as I became a teacher and I realized that I could offer continuing education credits to other people, I found that to be a benefit to the Reiki training because then you're drawing in other people. And again, it could be like nurses, social workers, but people who need to receive professional credits. And the same thing would be like with a social worker or something like that. It helps them to not be using their own energy. And so a lot of people in fields, they get burnt out, they get compassion fatigue. And so by having Reiki, even if they don't want to become Reiki practitioners, the benefits are unlimited, just like what I would say for the early Reiki practitioners. I said, just like keep going because it will help you. I mean, it's the same thing. Like if you're in one of these professional fields, you might not leave your career, but if you take the Reiki classes and keep working, you're going to be a lot happier in your field. Because you have that Reiki to help provide a protective layer or make it easier on you, the self Reiki at the end of the day. So in your business, if you're providing professional credits and classes, it helps your business on a lot of level to look more professional. Oh, you offer these credits to professional people. And one thing people might say is like, is it real? Is this quackery? I mean, I don't get that a lot because I do it on a professional level, but like if you're new or you're like trying to convince like your friends and family, like, what do you do? Like it's new to them, but like, so you're trying to help them to accept this new thing that you're now doing. So having ways of like, Reiki's in hospitals, you can provide professional continuing education courses, these, joining the Reiki Membership Association, becoming licensed teacher, all of these things help you in your business to add more credentials to your practice, and then draw in other people. Oh, great, I needed to get CEs.
Yeah.
So then now they're going to come to you because you can offer them that, and they get to learn Reiki. So you're going to help them, and those clients are usually pretty serious because if they're in another practice and they're finding Reiki, once they get it and they receive it, they're likely going to come back or want to keep working with you, because they do see how much it benefits and helps their practice. So they're good candidates, and they go well together. So I don't have like lines of people, but I do get them. I do get people who come in. I actually just had a couple just recently that I filled out the paperwork for, to offer them credits. These were in social work, and so I did the NCTNB certification years ago, but then they moved away from offering credits for a while, and then now they brought them back. So now I brought that back again, and I have had definitely a few people reaching out to get signed up, knowing that that is something that I can give them.
Wonderful. Well, that was our last question. And as we were talking, is there something you may have forgotten or something that you want to share with our listeners? If so, the floor is yours.
Oh, wow. I don't know. I mean, we did cover a lot of information.
We did cover.
I know we did. I can't think of anything else that kind of that's come up that, at least I'm better like if people ask me questions.
Sure. Okay.
Versus coming up with more stuff.
All right.
But yeah, nothing sort of popped in. I know sometimes it does too, but
it's all good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Jill, so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to join me on this Ready, Set, Reiki journey.
Thank you for having me.
All right, my wonderful listeners, if you would like your question featured on Ready, Set, Reiki, reach out, www.readysetreiki.com. Also, check out Feather Sister Wellness that offers online yoga and Reiki trainings and in person in the El Paso area. I'm Tracy Seawright, and this has been Ready, Set, Reiki.